impressive lineup of keynote speakers today. First one of them is Professor Dr. Slagjana Taseva, Dean of the International Anti-Corruption Academy. Professor Taseva is recognized for her research and expertise in tackling money laundering, financial crime, and organized crime. She has served as a senior anti-corruption and anti-money laundering expert for the EU. She has also published several books on criminology and criminal law. Professor Taseva.
Good morning, and thank you very much, first of all, Mr. Brown, the Deputy State Secretary-elect, but also Mr. and all the colleagues for inviting me here. It is a great pleasure to be here this morning on behalf of the International Anti-Corruption Academy. To add to what was said from our colleague about my professional experience, I can only say that I have worked in this field and area. I've been the first president of the Macedonian Anti-Corruption Commission when it was established in 2003. And we worked a lot in the area of implementing the preventive law, analyzing the risks, including the conflict of interest, which was part of the authority of the Corruption Commission. And we had a very interesting and special experiences that I would say a few words about, because we are talking now about laws, and it is not all about having a good law, but it is also about the way how you implement that law. But also it is not only about having institutions, having an anti-corruption agency or integrity agency. It is also about the people. To have a good institution, you need people with integrity into that institution. And after that, you can speak about integrity of the institutions that will build trust among the people in our institutions, in the governments, in the system. So that is why I think everything what we can say need to be probably think again, and to see what else we can do and what more we need. And first of all, allow me, before as I already entered in my speech about this issue, which is I'm very passionate about fighting against corruption and everything it entails. But allow me first to say a few words about the International Anti-Corruption Academy. I don't know whether all of you are familiar about that institution. So it is an international organization. We have 77 member states. At the end of October, we will be 78. We have 4 international organizations that are our members. We have oversight status with many international organizations. And we are the only international organization established with an international agreement with the purpose for education, providing education for the anti-corruption practitioners, professionals. It was at that time, it is established in 2011, it was considered that to have effective and efficient fight against corruption, or effective and efficient work in any profession, you need to have educated professionals. Education is the key. When you are educated, you are more competent and have more strength and power to apply your profession. We provide master courses. We don't have basic bachelor studies. We have 4 different master programs. Now we are working on developing a master program in Arabic language because are from 168 countries, so we work with every country, with professionals from all countries. It is not exclusively for the countries which are members of the International Anti-Corruption Academy. And at this moment, due to our assembly and the board decision, we will launch the PhD program at we are planning it for March next year, that is the date of establishment of the IACA. And so we are looking forward to developing knowledge and capacity building in anti-corruption professionals. And it covers all the aspects of the work, also prevention, law enforcement, also the capacity building, also corporate governance. And we have a special master program for the corporate governance and private sector. So in our work, we also have a research program. We have just published a publication on the integrity in sport. We have been analyzing the cases. It is a typology-based study on the corruption in sport. And you go there and see, it is published on our website. You will see how the typology of corruption is different to different types of sports, and how it is interlinked with other types of crime, including organized crime and money laundering, and how really it affects people's lives and the life of younger generations. We will have an online conference on the 13th of November where this topic is covered together with the topic of integrity or typology of corruption in the humanitarian aid sector, and also corruption in sport, and also the money laundering and new technologies, artificial intelligence, and how it affects the fight against corruption. So in our academic and training programs, we constantly place strong emphasis on the prevention and management of conflict of interest. We highlight that effective control begins with a solid legal and institutional framework. However, that is not sufficient. This must be reacted to practical measures, such as regular declarations of interest, clear procedures for identifying and addressing potential conflicts. As we all know, conflict of interest might cause or is causing serious risk for corruption. And I would say this is the underlying of every act of corruption: interest, whether it is related to the personal interest or interest of a political party, of a company, or a family member. It is always about the interest, why somebody acts in corruption. It is due to the putting something before the public interest. To address that and support the implementation of the UNCAC, and IACA has developed two self-paced online courses, which is handling conflict of interest in the public sector and introduction to conflict of interest management in the private sector. These courses are online and everybody can access it at any time. You can find it on our website. And also, it was one of our key focus areas in 2022, where we provided an overview on anti-corruption compliance standards and guidelines, and the overview serves as a practical tool to support the implementation of effective compliance programs across different types of companies. So when we talk about conflict of interest, I will now go back to the topic and how we can address it and what can be done. We know that, first of all, IACA has 15 European member states as members of the International Anti-Corruption Academy. Not all EU member states are members of the IACA. Hungary is one of them, and very active, I can also say. We work with the to establish the effectiveness of the work of the anti-corruption agencies. It is a global program for measurement of the effectiveness of the fight against corruption, which we are implementing for already 3 years now, together with UNODC and UNDP as partners, and we will have the conference in New York in December, where we will present the methodology. What is important to say here is that the response to the pilot survey, to this developing this methodology was very good. Almost 75% of invited agencies have responded to our pilot question. Sonia is here, she knows. It was a very long and complex and comprehensive, it requires a lot of work. But they have decided to respond to it because they thought it is important. It is important to be able to see how effective we are in what we are doing. And out of these respondents, the biggest number were from Asia Pacific and from European member states. 33% were from the EU member states, which means that European countries are also interested in assessing the effectiveness of the work in anti-corruption agencies, which is good, because the piloting and the dashboard that was created shows where we are standing in our preparedness to address the problem of corruption. So it's another very significant step when we talk about addressing the problem of corruption, which goes from the problem of, conflict of interest, which is the baseline of everything, but, undue influence or illicit enrichment or not declaring the assets, and all that is interlinked and interconnected in the work of the anti-corruption agency together with the effectiveness. We often hear about impunity or ineffectiveness in the judiciary, which is also in many studies shown as a result of influences and interests over the judiciary, over the prosecution. So wherever we look in our work or discussion today, we will come across interests, why we have impunity, why we have captured states. And we need to talk about each and every of these issues when we want to unpack the problem of conflict of interest and the problem of corruption. So I will now say a few words from my personal experience. We all now in the topic of artificial intelligence and using IT tools and how it can be used to analyze the application of the standards and what we have in the law and how it is implemented in practice. Of course, it is very helpful. It is very helpful to have these tools, but I would say it is not good enough. It is not really giving us a clear answer of the problem. When we have a problem of conflict of interest, then it might look like it is a conflict of interest. But if you go deeper, you will find out that it is not the case. I will give one example. When we were in the Commission, there was a case. The new government appointed the head of the airport. And the media were immediately full with the stories that this is the brother of the Minister of Economy. And everybody was talking about nepotism and about interest. We said, we had a meeting and we said publicly to the media that we are opening the case to assess whether there is a conflict of interest. What the government did on the next session, they dismissed the minister. They said, okay, if we put another person there because we want to please the public, so public is upset. After 3 weeks, we come up with a finding that there is no conflict of interest. Because that person who was appointed director has spent 20 years working at not the director of the scope head. And then we checked with the company, because that auditor was connected with the big company, well-known worldwide, whether they have internal conflict of interest rules, whether he had actually declared that he's auditing this company. And we found out that that was not the case. He did not declare it. And he had a problem with his own company. But the point here is, we really, when we have a suspicion, we can use all the tools we can find. It is making it easier for us to select, not to probably or to prioritize, or to have a look first on those that are identified through the system. But then we need to really be able to have capacity to look at it in every specific case separately. Because even in the case of conflict of interest, we are dealing with people. That is the main message for the anti-corruption professionals. Whatever we do is connected with the person. So we need to be right. We cannot rush. We cannot make conclusions and decisions without proper assessment. And we have to be sure about what we are seeing and what we are telling. Because we can talk about what are the mechanisms to address, whether it is disciplinary or criminal offense or, I don't know, dismissal or replacement. But I have had this type of cases as well. Nepotism. I had the health fund appointed his wife to be a doctor in the dentist ordination without passing all the procedures in the government, without even a vacancy notice and everything. And we were all feeling bad because of that, because we said it is a conflict of interest. But that lady was the best student in the generation. So ruining the career, but we still have to do what we need to do. But at least we know that we are right. That's the most important. And I think I will be happy to talk about all of your countries have been through the Greco evaluations. I was also there part of our Greco delegation. I've been evaluator of Manival. We can see conflict of interest also in the financial sector when we talk about procurement issues, giving tenders, not declaring connection to the